everyone, hi grandkids, it's Nonna here. I know it's been a while, but today we're going to make one of my very favourite recipes, lamb shanks, cooked in red wine and some tomatoes. I'm going to go through the ingredients first. So we've got onions, garlic, capsicum, celery, carrots, and some seasoning, salt and pepper, oregano, basil, and my favourite is rosemary. Goes really well with lamb. The parsley we're going to add at the end. Now, the wet ingredients, I've got some stock, some lovely red wine, and this is homemade red wine that my neighbour gave to me, some tinned tomatoes, and some tomato paste. Now, the lamb shanks. I've got 4 beautiful lamb shanks that I went to the butcher for, and he cut them in half like that, and that releases the marrow in the bone. This is obviously for a large family, but if you want to do half, just cut the whole recipe in half. One last thing, I like to add some vegetables towards the end of the cooking. I've got some cannellini beans and I've got some mushrooms. So towards the very end of the cooking, I add these, because if you add them at the beginning, they're going to go terribly soft. So let's go over to the stove and start cooking. So I'm just going to explain the process before I start cooking. We're going to brown the lamb shanks first in some olive oil, then we're going to put them aside. Then we're going to add the other ingredients and make a nice stock, put the lamb shanks back in and put everything in the oven for about 2 hours. Okay, so I'm putting the olive oil in the pan. You will need a fair bit of olive oil. And as soon as that starts to heat up, we're going to brown the lamb shanks. The oil's nice and hot, so I'm going to start browning the lamb shanks. Just put them in, they can all go in together. And I'm just going to turn them over as they start to brown. Just start having a look at the lamb shanks. As you can see, they're starting to brown. You can just turn them over on their side. Try and brown all the sides if you can. When they've browned, just put them on the side, turn your heat down, and then we're going to add the other ingredients. Once we've taken the lamb shanks out and put them aside, we're ready to start adding the other ingredients. I put in the onion, just let that fry off for about half a minute. Try not to burn it, so just turn the heat down if you need to. I'm going to add the capsicum next. I've got quite a lot of onion here, but you will need it for 4 lamb shanks. Ready? I'm going to add the capsicum. Just fry it gently. Again, try not to burn any of the vegetables. I'm going to add the garlic now. Garlic's very tricky. It can burn very quickly. That's why I let the onions cook off a little bit first. Now that they've cooked down a little bit, I'm going to add the celery and the carrot. I just find celery and carrot do add a really nice flavour to dishes like this. We're ready to add our liquids now. So I'm going to add the 2 cups of vegetable stock. Our can of tinned tomatoes. Our tomato paste. The quantities will be in the recipe at the end of the video. And remember, if you're not cooking 4 lamb shanks and you're only cooking 2, just halve everything. Stir all those ingredients in. We've got our wine, lovely homemade wine. If you haven't got homemade wine, just use Shiraz or anything else like that. I like it to bring it to the boil Add your seasoning, pepper, salt, oregano, and some basil. You can tear the basil up if you like, but you don't really have to for this recipe. Now I like to add rosemary. I've got some from my garden and I just put it in whole like that. You can remove the sticks after it's finished cooking. You can see that the lovely stock has been brought to the boil. Add your stock cube. Give it one last stir. And then we're going to add the shanks back in. Okay, so slowly put your lamb shanks back in. I'm going to put the lid on. That's ready to go into the oven now. I've set the oven at 150 degrees. And remember, it cooks slowly for 2 hours, checking it every 20 minutes or every half hour to make sure there's enough liquid in there. It's been about an hour and a half, so I'm going to take the lamb shanks out and put in my vegetables. I've got the cannellini beans and I've got some mushrooms. But remember, I did say you can add any vegetable you like. You might chop some potatoes, some sweet potato or some zucchinis, whatever you prefer. Here we go. They look really nice. While I've got them out of the oven, I'm actually going to turn them around. You can see the meat is starting to fall off. So in half an hour, they're going to be really, really tasty. I just put the mushrooms in whole into the liquid. Same with the cannellini beans. They won't take very long. Just give it a little stir, just to get them below the liquid. And we're going to pop that back in the oven. In the meantime, I'm going to cook some rice to have with the lamb shanks. I have checked the lamb shanks and they're cooked. I'll show you how I know. So I'm going to take them out of the oven and we're going to reduce some of that stock just to thicken it up a little. Just be careful when you take the lid off. I'm going to show you how I know that the lamb shanks are cooked. So with a fork, just check one or two, and if the meat comes away really easily like that, you know they're cooked. Now I'm going to gently take them out and put them into my baking tray there. Very carefully, not to break them. Then I'm going to show you how we reduce the stock and make a nice sauce. Because the lamb shanks have made a lot of oil, sometimes what I do, I skim some of that oil off. So just get a little bowl and with your spoon, just skim some of that oil off the top. Otherwise it makes it all a little bit too greasy. Just skim a little bit of that off. You can turn the stove on and we're just going to reduce that liquid. I've reduced the liquid. I've let it boil for about 5 minutes. I'm just going to remove the stalks. That's what the rosemary was on. Just have a little look for the other one. There it is. Now I'm going to turn the hot plate off and pour some of this nice juice over the lamb shanks. I'm going to take it over to the bench and we're going to serve up. And there you have it, our beautiful lamb shanks, lots of parsley on the top. I'm going to put one on top of the steamed rice. very carefully. There we go. And a little bit of that lovely sauce. Let it pour down the side. There we have our lamb shanks on the steamed rice. I've put a little bit of saffron in my rice to make it a nice colour. So, buon appetito! Enjoy!